any other players stand out to you at the World Junior Championship?
Yeah, the last one that I have, like, that I want to talk about, not, there's a few honorable mentions I'd love to shout out as always. But I said that I didn't want to make it all about points. So I'm going to talk about Ridley Greig, who was, his engine was on full display in this tournament. This wasn't a shock. We knew about his engine. That was the talk at the draft about this guy. But man, he was the heartbeat of that team, of Team Canada, up until his injury. And you could tell that the coaching staff had no fear in playing this guy and his line against anyone on any team. And that, like I said, with the other line, really opened the door for the Bedard McTavish to kind of have an easier matchup, because you put Ridley's line out against the other team's top scoring line. You match up well with Stankoven's line out there against the other team's defensive line. And it's like, well, that leaves the door open. And that really does play a lot in these tournaments, matchups, and where you can play your stars. Well, if Ridley played the whole tournament, I don't think there is a doubt that he would be in the conversation for the top 3 players on the team. It was a lot of fun to watch him, and there was a lot of Sens prospects that were fun to watch. While he stood out the most to me, and he drives the net. Like, he goes right to the crease. He'll go through 3 guys if he has to, but he is not looking to play a European style at all. He goes right up the middle, and that's just so refreshing to watch in this tournament, because there is a lot of perimeter play, especially when you're watching like Sweden, for example. But that's how they play, and that's not necessarily a negative if you can do it right. Well, you don't have to do it right if you're driving up the middle and getting the puck on net and causing chaos every time you're on the ice. And it wasn't all his defensive play and his engine on display. He did have 3 goals and 3 assists in the 5 games he played. So I think it would have been maybe even a cakewalk in the finals if he was on the ice.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot there. The first thing I wanted to touch on was the perimeter play, because I noticed that too. There was a lot of perimeter play from teams like Sweden and Finland. I guess that's just the product of having more ice when, in their regular leagues. And it's almost like a dance. Like, do you notice it's kind of like a dance with these Swedish and Finnish players? Like, they're outside, they come into the slot, into the house when they need to and when it's convenient to score, but then they bounce right back out. It is like an art form. It really is, and I love watching it there. And Fabian Lysell is a guy who did it really well. But going back to Ridley Greig, what we're talking about here, he looks like an Ottawa Senators player. Like, not talking about the Ottawa Senators of the past. I'm talking about this current team here. He looks like he'd fit right in playing with a guy like Brady Tkachuk, because they play a similar style, just balls to the wall the entire game. Like, not afraid to get in your face, not afraid to stir things up or drive the net or, put pucks on net and play that hard-nosed hockey. I love the way he plays. An engine is a good word for it, because he has an engine, and it never stopped that tournament until, unfortunately, he was forced to leave the game and didn't come back. But, you noticed how important he was to the team when he was forced to leave the game with injury, because that was, dramatic in shaking up the entire lineup. Like, Team Canada had to completely changed their philosophy, because Ridley Greig became the go-to guy in any situation and the most trusted player on the ice, because you knew, unlike maybe some other younger, maybe more talented or skilled players, that Greig wasn't gonna try a spinorama pass or like do something crazy. Like, he was going to get the puck in and work hard, and that was his game. So Greig for sure stood out to me, and the Sens have a great player in him. That's for sure.